Good morning, y'all. You clicked on one of my lives from Kick. Enjoy. Let's get into it. All right, so we are getting into 6 most disturbing forest encounters caught on camera. The Fear Factory. I'm guessing I haven't watched anything from these guys. Let's see if it's AI voice or if it's an actual guy. And he might end up earning a like. Who knows? Let's go ahead and get this pulled up. So, forest encounters caught on camera.
No. They're 2 miles away. I know.
Oh, Ben! That was a kitty!
Ben! Yo, what the fuck was that? Yo.
I'm pretty convinced there's been a person or persons. What the fuck?
Camping is supposed to be simple, just you, your gear, and the quiet of nature. But once the sun goes down, the wilderness has a way of revealing things you'd never expect. Sometimes it's strangers stepping out of the dark, other times it's sounds you can't explain, or people who might not have the best intentions. Today we bring you the 6 most disturbing forest encounters caught on camera. With no time to spare, let's dive right into the first one. Up first, we have Grizzly Gaz, a camping YouTuber from the UK who often ventures deep into the wilderness with...
Hold on, I keep hearing a noise. Give me 1 second. You stay up there. All right, it's just got to be the fridge over there kicking on and off. All right, I'm back. Let's do this.
His loyal French bulldog, Fendi. His channel is packed with dozens of adventures, often featuring remote forests, rugged weather conditions, and encounters with wildlife. But during one particular trip through the woods of the UK in April of 2023, Gaz stumbled into something far stranger than any wild animal. At first, the trip seemed ordinary. He filmed himself setting up camp, pitching his tent, and chopping wood to prepare for the night ahead. As the sun dipped below the trees, Gaz got his fire going and began cooking a steak dinner with Fendi resting by his side. Everything appeared calm. What happened next wasn't shown in the footage, but out of the darkness, a man dressed in jeans and a coat.
Random dude. Hey, did he bring more beer? That's the question.
Suddenly appeared, asking Gaz for food and something to drink.
Right, we've got steaks on go now. Bit of ribeye. Pot boiling for some mash.
Heck yeah.
And I've got a visitor.
Dude, that guy's just chilling. He's been drinking since noon. He is freaking gone.
Creeped up behind me asking me if I had a light. I shit me pants.
Not gonna lie, I'd probably do the same thing.
This is Martin anyway. I don't know him, but he's stopping for a steak, so...
Just some random creep wandering about.
Not gonna lie, I've probably been that random creep a couple times. You know, I used to travel a lot for work, and sometimes I just show up to places, and, you know, surprisingly, it always went well.
You went round here in a poncho a couple of months ago, were you?
I don't think I was. I could have been.
Although the encounter appeared somewhat friendly on the surface, there was something about the man's behavior that felt deeply unsettling for Gaz. His words often slurred together.
Well, yeah, because he's been drinking since noon.
His thoughts rambling, and his feet tripping as if he wasn't fully in control of himself. Later in the video, Gaz reveals how they sat by the fire, while Martin revealed bits and pieces of his past, that he was homeless, how drugs had destroyed his life, and that he had been wandering the woods alone. He also mentioned the strangest moment during the encounter.
Turned round to cut some firewood up. So I cut a couple of logs up, And when I turned back round, he'd gone. And I just found that really strange.
No thank you, no good.
Yeah, I mean, he probably just didn't want to overstay his welcome. That is creepy, but, gotta kind of feel bad for the guy. I mean, yeah, the drug thing, addiction is not good, but I mean, he fed him. He sat there, broke bread with the guy, talked with him, and he moved on.
By, no sound of footsteps. He had vanished without a single trace. Although the meeting ended without direct confrontation, the experience left Gaz unnerved. He couldn't shake the thought of whether Martin had truly left, or if he
Oh yeah, no, I wouldn't have slept that night.
might return later that night with darker intentions, perhaps even with company. After all, Gaz was camping all by himself in these woods, surrounded by expensive gear and camera equipment. Not willing to take the risk, Gaz packed up and cut the trip short, but before leaving, he mounted a trail camera at the site, hoping to catch if Martin returned.
I'm on my way back to the camp to collect my trail camera and see if that random smackhead came back during the night.
The next morning, however, the most disturbing detail wasn't what the camera had captured. Instead, it was the fact that the camera itself was gone.
Trail camera's gone. That's where it was, on this tree. So my gut instincts were right, weren't they, to leave.
Gaz thought the worst part of his trip was over when Martin disappeared into the night, but the missing trail camera suggested otherwise. And as one hiker named Phil would soon learn, sometimes the most disturbing signs are the ones people leave behind on the trail. Since 2017, a YouTuber named Phil, better known for his channel Hike Slam, has been documenting his hiking trips across the Appalachian Trail. His videos usually cover everything from choosing the right gear to camping alone in the woods. But on the night before Thanksgiving in 2021, Phil uploaded a video that stood apart from the rest, one that left many of his viewers deeply unsettled. What began as a normal overnight hike near his home in Virginia quickly descended into something much darker. For the first stretch of the trail, everything felt routine. Phil set out with his gear, recording the quiet beauty of the woods around him. But after a while, scattered along the path, he began finding trash, plastic containers oddly placed and marked with something strange. Written across them were fragments of poems and even what appears to be full song lyrics, carefully scrawled before being discarded in the dirt. It only got worse the further he went. As Phil pushed deeper into the wilderness, the trail revealed even more disturbing notes.
The weirdness continues. What the hell?
Written in the same handwriting, rambling about conspiracy theories, federal agents, and fragments of personal confessions. And then came the most unsettling discovery of all.
There's a dead duck here.
Huh.
And it looks like it was just put here because it's not wet. That duck is fairly recently killed. Alright. Kind of creepy.
Yeah, to say the least.
The coincidence was too close to ignore. Someone had deliberately left both the writings and the duck there. Keeping his distance, Phil noticed smoke curling up from a nearby fire, with a tarp pitched only a short distance from where the notes were found. Clearly, whoever had written them was still close by. He pressed on toward a hiker's shelter, farther up the trail. Along the way, two women with a dog stopped him, asking if he had seen a man leaving creepy messages and dead animals in the woods. Alarmed, they asked Phil to walk them back to their car, and he did. Phil eventually doubled back in the opposite direction, looking for a safer spot to set up camp for the night. By the time he reached another shelter, he felt like he could finally relax. He got a fire going, cooked his dinner, and began to relax. But the sense of anxiety wasn't over. Inside the shelter logbook, a tradition where hikers jot down their names and trail notes, Phil found more entries.
I hang out by the fire. Almost every shelter on the Appalachian Trail has a shelter log where people write in their trail names and what's going on. They can write whatever they want in there. So it's kind of cool tradition here. So let's see what this one says. Alright, let's see what's happened recently. Holy crap. Wait a second. Well, I'm gonna adjust the camera here. This writing
that's super
looks
creepy.
almost exactly like the writing that was on that garbage a couple of miles from here.
No,
The messages grew darker the more he read. Ramblings about time in jail and solitary confinement, Bible passages, and incoherent rants filled the pages.
In 2018, while I was incarcerated at the Okaloosa County Jail, what the heck? I figured the following out. Refer to Isaiah 28:15 through 9.
And as Phil explored the shelter, he found one last warning sign. Half a Gatorade bottle hanging from a string with a note written in the same unmistakable handwriting. It read, "Watch out for Yeet Mouse. The dead do walk and talk."
What in the heck? That guy.
All right, I'm go.
That guy needs to visit a hospital. Is what he needs to do. Somebody needs to get that poor guy some help.
Going.
Uneasy but trying to carry on, Phil crawled into his tent, hoping the night would pass quietly. But from here, the atmosphere just grew more eerie by every second, as he began to hear movements from just outside the shelter. Peering out, he saw a figure moving in the dark, a lone guy with a headlamp circling the shelter. Not wanting to find out if it was the same person behind the notes, Phil packed his things in silence and slipped back down the trail. He walked the entire way to his truck in the dead of night, checking over his shoulder every step of the way. Phil made it home safely. Almost 3 years later, in October 2024, he returned to the same exact trail and shelter to investigate the strange notes, or the man behind them. I highly recommend you to check it out after watching this video. Perhaps he discovers the writings were the work of someone mentally unstable.
Yeah, go check it out. Guy does some cool hiking stuff. Why not? I don't have the patience for hiking.
Or if he narrowly avoided a far worse fate. But one thing is for certain, the trail still hides the remnants of one hiker's most unnerving encounter to date. The writings Phil discovered hinted at a maniac haunting the woods. But not every danger hides in riddles. For another camper, the threat came in the form of two angry strangers, loud, drunk, and standing only feet away from his family tent. Next, we turn to Restless Wanderer Backpacking, a veteran of the outdoors who's been sharing his hiking, fishing, and camping adventures on YouTube for more than 8 years. His channel usually focuses on backcountry tips, homemade gear, and the quiet solitude of nature. But during a Memorial Day weekend trip in May 2020, what started as a peaceful family getaway in the Colorado mountains quickly escalated into one of the most dangerous encounters he had ever faced. For the first day, the forest was calm. Their campsite was fully prepared, a large cabin tent, a portable heater, a separate hot shower setup, and a fire pit ready for the night. But in the early hours of their second night, everything changed. At 4 a.m., the silence was broken by the roar of a four-wheeler tearing down the dirt road just outside their tent. At first, it seemed harmless, loud, disruptive, but nothing more. Then, only minutes later, the sound returned. This time, it stopped directly beside their camp. From the darkness, a male voice screamed obscenities into the night. He was drunk, enraged, and only a few feet away from the thin nylon wall
He probably fell off the four-wheeler. Sounds like he had a good night.
that separated him from the sleeping family. His shouts were soon joined by a female voice.
They're 2 miles away. I know.
The two of them staggered
Yeah, they wrecked the four-wheeler. He's pissed.
through the campsite, arguing, cursing, and demanding jumper cables. When told there were none, their anger grew. The man turned his attention to the father, raising his fists and threatening violence. The woman advanced on the mother, screaming in her face. Their children remained trapped inside the tent, silent and terrified, as the confrontation unfolded only
All right, now if that happened, I would have been lighting some people up.
inches away.
No, stop. They're behind you. Let's stay here.
In the end, no one was injured, and the situation eventually diffused. But for Restless Wanderer, the experience was a stark reminder that the wilderness isn't always the real danger. Sometimes, it's the people you cross paths with. To this day, he still calls it his most unsettling night in the backcountry.
Well, yeah.
That night proved that people can be just as unpredictable as the wilderness. But for Jasko, the danger was harder to define. Because inside the Devil's Forest, he found himself caught between something human and something that
One of these videos.
didn't seem to be. Up next, we bring you Jasko, a filmmaker and urban explorer who's built a reputation for documenting some of the most unsettling investigations on YouTube. From exploring abandoned prisons and asylums, to van camping with his friends, Chris and Ben, in the most eerie forests of the US, he often pushes himself to the edge in search of the unknown. But among all of his explorations, one location seems to stand apart from the others, the so-called Devil's Forest, a stretch of woodland infamous for its violent past, strange deaths, and unexplained disappearances. On September 16th, 2025, Jasko and his friend Chris decided to camp in the middle of this forest. At first, things seemed calm enough, but soon the woods began to close in. Little did they know, the night would bring one of the most unnerving experiences of their lives. While walking a trail, Jasko suddenly heard his name being called out in Chris's voice.
I just heard my name being called from down the trail.
Alright, that gave me the chills a little bit.
The problem, you might ask? Chris was standing a quarter mile in the complete opposite direction. And what Jasko was about to experience was something he would lose hours of sleeping due to.
But Chris is in that direction. Chris?
Yeah,
But if he's
way
down there, then... What the f***? Yo! Who's down there? Hello?
But this wasn't the first time Jasko had faced something strange here. A few years prior, he had camped in the same forest with his friend Ben during wintertime. While they were asleep, footsteps crunched right outside their tent.
Scottish.
Scottish.
And the spirit box even warned them.
Someone's coming.
Yeah, it's them Scots.
But just seconds later, they were woken by a scream echoing across the woods.
So that could be a cougar? I've never heard a cougar meow unless it's like that, unless it's a young cougar, maybe. But that was definitely a kitty.
Yo, what the fuck was that? Yeah.
When they went for a peek, they discovered fresh footprints pressed into a log in the frozen lake.
What? Look on that log right there. Holy. Ben? Those are feet prints. Look at that. What? No.
Prints
Ah, feet prints. Looks like it's all just the left foot. So where's the other feet?
that seem to appear out of nowhere and end just as abruptly. To this day, that night remains a mystery. Now, reverting back to the present, where Jasko had just encountered the scream of his life, the duo were about to learn the true legend of the Devil's Forest.
Chris?
Yo.
Chris, did you hear that?
Yeah, what was that?
Hey, all right. I gotta go subscribe to this guy. He's got a Snorlax. That's my boy. I got a Snorlax hanging in the Mustang over here. I got Snorlaxes everywhere. Snorlax is my spirit animal.
Somebody just break a fucking window? What was that? What was that?
That was so loud.
Just as they lay down to sleep, the sound of glass shattering noise just outside their van. Yet, when they checked, nothing was broken.
Something there?
I don't know.
But Chris, what would make that glass noise?
I don't know. That's what I'm wondering. It doesn't make sense. It makes no sense.
Is someone out here like messing with us?
However, the worst part wasn't over yet. Just moments later, Jasko and Chris encountered their worst nightmare ever.
No. Chris,
That
was a gunshot.
was absolutely.
That was a gunshot.
Yeah.
Did you see anything?
Somebody's probably out coyote hunting. That's probably what that is.
Oh, wait, there's a
What?
fucking light right there.
Oh,
What's that?
oh,
What
shit.
is that? There's somebody out
Chris,
there?
what the fuck? Yo,
What is that?
yo, there's someone out there. There's someone out there.
There's actually someone out
Yo,
there.
what the fuck? What the
Come
fuck?
on.
Hold on.
What the f?
Bro, there's someone out there. Bro, that's a light.
Is it moving?
That's a fucking light. It's moving. Chris, it's moving. There's someone outside the van right now.
Why? What are they doing? There actually has been somebody here the whole time.
What the fuck?
Out through the trees, a moving light appeared, confirming that someone, or something, was nearby, circling them.
Yeah, so turn your light on so they can see you. Duh. Freaking idiot.
Bro, if they have a gun and we're fucking hearing shit.
Fearing for their
Well,
own
turn your light
safety,
off.
they immediately left camp and fled barefoot in the middle of the night, destined not to stop until they were miles away from that forest. Whether it was paranormal or the work of real people is still unclear. But what is certain is that Jasko has twice entered the Devil's Forest, and twice been forced to leave in fear for him and his friends' lives. Jasko and Chris's escape was a reminder that sometimes leaving is the only option. But what if you can't leave? What if the danger comes straight to your door? That's exactly what Brendan experienced when headlights and footsteps closed in on his van. Next up on the list is Brendan Explores, a UK YouTuber who spends his nights wild camping, cooking, and exploring in his van. His channel usually captures the simple joys of road life, scenic park-ups, budget-friendly meals, and hidden spots off the beaten path. But during one stealth trip to Lake Vyrnwy in Wales, what began as a relaxed night by the water turned into something far more unnerving. Because once the headlights appeared outside his van, Brendan realized he wasn't as alone as he thought. Brendan had driven into Wales on a late-night stealth mission, hoping to camp by the lakeside without being noticed. He'd cooked his meal, settled in, and eventually decided to call it a night. The air
Why would he need to come in unnoticed? Is there something in Wales that you can't camp next to the lake?
area seemed peaceful until the stillness was broken.
I can see headlights.
Brendan noticed something shiny cutting through the dark. "I can see headlights," he whispered. The vehicle crept closer, then suddenly stopped. But what happened next, Brendan could have never foreseen.
Now, I've had this happen before to me. The kids and I were broke down. It's actually one of my YouTube videos. The kids and I were broke down in Casper, Wyoming, and we were sleeping in the back of the truck in the AutoZone parking lot because, you know, I got to fix my crap. And I was already having a hard time sleeping. It was cold. Gave the kids, you know, all the sweatshirts and stuff. They were all nice and toasty. I'm sitting there with this little freaking fleece blanket just doing this crap. Finally get to sleep. Lilith, she freaking wakes me up. Dad, there's somebody outside. And I'm like, and I see a light and stuff, and I'm like, uh-oh. So, you know, I start reaching over, and then I hear Casper Police Department, and I'm like, Jesus Christ. Open up the door, and, you know, God bless my mama. She was worried. She was worried about me. She couldn't sleep that night. So, you know, I slept like 10 minutes that night, thanks to my mom and the Casper Police Department. But we did get the truck going the next day. That video is on YouTube. So, you know, go check it out.
Then came the sound of heavy footsteps outside, circling his van. A stranger began pounding on the panels, knocking in different places as if testing for a reaction, without saying a single word. With shivers down his spine, Brendan refuses to react.
I wouldn't said anything either.
And before he would know it, the person was gone.
Who the was that? They just drove off. Didn't shout anything. Didn't ask if anyone's in here. Gave a couple knocks, shone the light in, and drove off. Shit.
Now, even though they didn't announce themselves, I'm still wondering if it was an officer. I'm wondering if they have had issues with like abandoned vehicles in the area. They were probably checking to see, once they were shining the light in, they realized that, hey, you know, somebody's in here. They probably notated tag of the vehicle, and then they just left them alone. But I mean, that's a possibility. Not everything has to be malicious.
I thought someone would come back then, Jesus. What do I do?
But the encounter wasn't over yet. Hours later, around 3:30 in the morning, another vehicle had arrived. This time, a van. Unfortunately, this footage wasn't shown in the video, but for nearly 15 minutes, the vehicle sat there, engine running, lights fixed on his window. Nobody got out. Nobody said a word. Brendan decided to lay frozen in his bed, unsure whether to move or remain perfectly still. By the time the van finally left, dawn was only an hour away.
Well, that's one hell of a wake-up I've ever had one. Jeez.
His voice was steady, but the exhaustion and unease were clear. He had managed to get only fragments of sleep, his mind replaying the knocks, the footsteps, and the blinding lights over and over again. Whether it was locals trying to scare him off, or something far darker, remains unclear. What is certain is that this quiet lakeside became the backdrop to one of his most disturbing nights on the road. The pounding on Brendan's van eventually faded into the night, but for Louise, sleep wasn't an option. Because as she lay in her hammock, the sound of footsteps returned again and again without a single explanation. Lastly, let me introduce you to Camper Vibe, a channel run by Emily and Louise, two friends best known for traveling in their camper van and documenting the renovation of a 200-year-old stone cottage. But in early 2023, Louise decided to step away from the tools and take a solo trip into the wilderness. Her destination, daring
Step away from the tools, she must go to college.
woods on the outskirts of Pluckley, better known as the UK's most haunted village. At first, everything seemed calm. Louise set up her hammock, got a fire going, and cooked a simple dinner as the forest closed in around
Good for her.
her. But as night fell, the woods began to change. What started as distant birds and owls soon gave way to chilling noises. cries that sounded eerily like children screaming.
But
Louise tried to brush it off, convincing herself it was just birds. But the noises didn't stop. They grew stranger, layered with echoes that didn't belong in the night.
sounds like kids screaming. That's just a train. Is it a bird or is it kids screaming? That's a bird. That's a gunshot. I don't know if you'll be able to hear a lot of this, it's pretty distant, but it sounds like kids screaming.
She sat by the fire, listening, her nerves tightening with every sound. By now, she knew this wasn't normal woodland activity.
Honestly, I've never known a woods with so many strange noises. It's not just your normal birds and stuff and planes. There's a lot of planes. There's like this weird... Oh, I don't really know how to describe it, but I'm tired, so I'm going to let this burn out in a bit, sit here and enjoy a fire for a little while and then, yeah, head to bed. The hammock's really comfy, thank God, so I should sleep well, I would think.
Oh, nice little campfire. Get that smell. And you freaking curl up in your sleeping bag. And that next morning you wake up and you're just like,
Left with unease, Louise eventually went to bed that night. But then came the moment that froze her blood. At around 2 in the morning, between the owls, rain, planes, and trains, the sound of slow, deliberate footsteps suddenly approached her tent. A pause.
Definitely could be an animal, but, you know, who knows.
Then more, crunching the ground, yet stopping just outside. She held still, unwilling to shine her light and reveal herself.
You know, honestly, it's probably like a deer or something. They're probably coming through her little camp area. Once they probably caught a whiff of her, maybe heard her, and then they froze. So that's like, she's like, oh.
The footsteps circled, faded, and returned again. Hours passed like this, until at last, she was certain. It was no animal.
What the fuck was that? I don't want to turn the light on because I'm pretty convinced there's been a person or persons. What the fuck? I've never wanted the morning to come as much as I do right now.
Whoever it was, they kept lingering in the campsite again and again. Sometime later, Louise finally caught the courage to take a peek at the campsite. But when she does, there is nothing to see.
What the fuck is going on?
Whatever it was enough to set off the sleeping crows. By the time dawn finally broke, Louise was shaken and exhausted. She whispered to herself that it was the scariest night she had ever endured in the woods.
This is definitely the scariest night I've ever had in a tent.
Even in daylight, her voice trembled as she admitted she still swore she could hear footsteps outside the tent. The following morning, Louise realized that she had almost assisted her own death, as she accidentally left out a potential murder weapon.
But I've just realised I left my axe out. Now, if there had been an axe murderer wandering around, I've literally handed him his weapon of choice.
Louise returned home safely, but the footsteps remain unexplained. To this day, she insists she doesn't believe in ghosts, yet she can't explain who or what was pacing around her camp, that camping isn't all You never really know who or what is out there.
Oh no, I clicked on the wrong thing. I don't want that. Hold on. So, yeah, 6 most disturbing forest encounters caught on camera. I wouldn't say that they were very disturbing. I could have probably handled all of them just fine. But, you know, Fear Factory, they did a good job. I'm going to hit a little subscribe, throw a little like on there for them. And, yeah, guys, go check them out. Fear Factory. You like spooky stuff? Hey. Hey, y'all. I see you made it to the end of the video. Remember, leave a like, share, comment. Throw me a little bit of a subscribe down at that bottom down there. And just remember, I'm trying to do live streams every night on Kick. So go ahead over to Kick, throw me a follow, and hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any suggestions on something you want me to react to, something you want me to comment on, throw it down in the comments below. Thank you for watching the video. Follow me on YouTube. Follow me on Kick. I love you all. We'll catch you in the next one.